This video was adapted from an article written by Amber Winston on MASH.com. I decided to try almost every burger on the BK menu, and there were some surprises. Now I'm gonna dish the deets and rank them from worst to best, so you don't have to. You might think Burger King's standard cheeseburger earned itself a position at the bottom of the pile simply because it's basic. But actually, I found this burger to be pretty awful as soon as I sunk my teeth into it. Now, don't get me wrong, it still packs plenty of smoky grilled flavor, and for that I give it kudos. Still, it isn't necessarily the flavor that does this burger in, but rather the texture and mouthfeel that left me unsatisfied. If I had to describe the burger in one word, I'd use dry. Upon first bite, I was hit with a mouthful of bread and almost no patty. The condiments used were minimal, though I got a zip of mustard here and there, which I will admit tasted quite yummy against the backdrop of the smoky, char-grilled beef flavor. Also, don't expect your standard onion, tomato, and lettuce lineup here. You get those on the Whopper-style burger grabs, though you can still enjoy the taste of a scattered pickle or two. All in all, despite my fond childhood memories of having loved this standard BK cheeseburger, the adult me is giving this one a thumbs down. After testing out BK's Bacon Burger, I must say that I'm impressed with the overall taste of the bacon. The strips aren't super hearty, meaning it's not the best bacon I've ever had, but I like a bacon that packs good flavor, and this does it for me. As for the standard bacon burger at Burger King, I found it to be decent, but not my favorite.
I'm just saying that with me, you always have it your way. Because girl, I am made to order.
At first glance, this is a sad-looking little burger. It's endowed with only a tiny squirt of ketchup placed upon two tiny buns, a couple pickles, bacon, and cheese. Oh yeah, there's a bit of mustard hiding in there too, but not enough to make the condiment noticeable. Biting into this burger, I was definitely surprised by how much the bacony flavor stood out. Still, I was thrown off by that dry mouthfeel I got from the original cheeseburger, and I couldn't move past the lack of condiments here. What results is just a dry little number that's saved only by the flavor of bacon. It wasn't as terrible tasting as the original cheeseburger, but it definitely isn't my top pick for a BK burger grab. The double cheeseburger was a sight for sore eyes, especially after tasting a few of the sadder-looking burgers on BK's lineup. Though this is one of Burger King's more understated burgers, it definitely looked the part as it featured plenty of thick, melty cheese. Still, upon digging in, I gotta say I wasn't too impressed, even though it was definitely loads better than the classic cheeseburger. The double cheeseburger comes with mustard, ketchup, pickles, 2 patties, and 2 slices of cheese. Again, the taste of this one wasn't bad. The cheese on the burger made it seem not quite as dry as some of the others, and the grilled flavor of the patties was detectable. Still, compared to the Whopper, I felt that it was a bit parched. Personally, I much prefer the Mickey D's version of a double cheeseburger than Burger King's rendition. Sorry, BK. Oddly, this was my 4-year-old daughter's favorite, which I totally didn't expect. But after tasting BK's Rodeo Burger, I could see why. The Rodeo Burger is a cheap menu item, and considering its appearance, I didn't go into this one with much excitement. The burger looked small and floppy, the barbecue sauce was virtually non-existent, and the onion rings seemed flat and soggy. Nevertheless, after the first bite, I'm happy to say that I was pleasantly surprised. Other reviews I had seen of the Rodeo Burger were split, with some loving it and some hating it. I think I lie somewhere in the middle. For the price point, I actually think this is quite good. In fact, if you're someone who likes a good barbecue sandwich, I might even recommend it. I wouldn't advise you walk into this with expectations of getting one of the better steakhouse barbecue burgers, but for a couple of bucks, I think it's well worth a buy.
I love Burger King, don't you?
One thing I do think the Rodeo Burger could use is a slice or two of bacon. You should also be advised that for some reason, my daughter found the barbecue sauce particularly spicy, though I disagree. Either way, you might want to be cautious if purchasing this one for your littles, especially if they're sensitive to spicy tastes. The Triple Whopper means well, and since I do love the Whopper original, you might think it's surprising that I wasn't much into this meatier, artery-clogging version. It isn't that I don't like the taste of a lot of meat, I do, but this Triple Whopper is a lot, and I don't just mean in terms of appetite. What the Triple Whopper means to do is what kills it. The meat overtakes the burger in an unpalatable way. If you really like the taste of plain burger patties, then by all means, order this. But if you expect to enjoy flavorful toppings in addition to the meat, forget it. More meat should also mean more toppings. Instead, Burger King stuck with the same original single Whopper topping status quo, making this frustratingly meaty without the satisfaction of the much-needed extra burger accessories. So yeah, this wasn't my favorite. But if you're a really hungry, plain meat-loving carnivore, this just might be your jam. Part of the issue I had with deciding where to place the Texas Double Whopper on our Burger King burgers worst to best list was that this is a good burger. The question is whether it lived up to my expectations, especially given its title. That's where things go south. I get that this is a Whopper. That means you'll get the standard condiments and toppings on the burger, and with that, I'm fine. Still, I think it would have been good for Burger King to add more than a few slices of bacon and jalapenos to make this thing something special. Again, it isn't that this sandwich isn't good. It certainly is. And the jalapenos add just the right amount of heat to make it uniquely enjoyable compared with the original Double Whopper. But that's where the buck stops. The bacon doesn't really shine through, and there are no other exciting additions, like barbecue sauce, onion rings, pepper jack cheese, and grilled onions, perhaps. That I equate with the word Texas in a burger title. If it were up to me, the Texas Double Whopper would feature all the aforementioned toppings and then some. Instead, the jalapeno and bacon additions weren't special enough for me to want to order it again. I was salivating over the sound of the BBQ Bacon Whopper Jr, but to be real, the flavors here clashed a bit. It definitely packed a unique taste compared with the original Whopper Jr, but not enough to make it worthy of ordering again. One of the issues I had with this burger is that I couldn't taste the bacon and barbecue sauce as much as I wanted to. I consider myself a bit of a burger connoisseur, and when it comes to any burger labeled barbecue bacon, I instantly assume the barbecue sauce and bacon will be the focus in terms of flavor. In this instance, the barbecue sauce and bacon, though tasty, weren't the stars. Instead, the mayo, lettuce, onion, and tomato detracted from the barbecue sauce and bacon flavors, leaving my taste buds confused. Like the Texas Double Whopper, I admit to a biased idea of which flavors pair well with barbecue sauce and bacon, and they aren't the flavors of a traditional Whopper. At least Burger King is smart enough to leave off the ketchup and mustard. While still tasty, this burger has a lot missing that would warrant making this a repeat purchase-worthy treat. The Double Whopper was one heck of a good Burger King burger, and I struggled with whether it should come in as the top pick on this list. Several bites later, however, I determined that this burger wouldn't take the coveted top spot. But it sure is worthy of a spot high on the list. What makes the Double Whopper so good is that it's the original taken to new heights. It features the same crispy lettuce and onion, beefy tomato, and classic condiments that make the original burger so tasty. So why did I knock it down a few pegs on our worst to best list? The double meat patties make it a little drier than the original. And as you likely know by now, I detest dry burgers. Still, the burger isn't so dry that it's no longer enjoyable. Actually, this was one of my favorite burgers on the list. All in all, if you're a person who likes a more beef-forward flavor in a sandwich, the Double Whopper should definitely be your pick. As for me, I like the taste of the beef with all the goodness of hearty toppings, so I prefer the original single patty over the double. The Whopper Jr. is a dainty little sandwich. It's quite a bit smaller than the original, but certainly doesn't disappoint in terms of taste. I've heard some complain about the size of the burger, but to me the sandwich is the size you'd expect. After all, it's a junior version of the real thing. There is the same pickles, onion, lettuce, and tomato combo on the sandwich, along with your standard ketchup, mustard, and mayo. I quite like the classic flavors of the Whopper here, and I prefer it over the assortment of flavors in the BBQ Bacon Whopper Jr. I mentioned earlier. There's no barbecue sauce confusing my taste buds, and the traditional condiments better suit my palate.
Stop treating me like I'm on the kids' menu.
You get your buns downstairs right now.
Could just be me, but I think the Whopper Jr. is well deserving of the third spot in our list of great BK burgers, despite being peewee size. The Bacon King surprised me in terms of taste. As mentioned earlier, I'm a huge fan of anything bacon. And while Burger King's bacon tastes good, I had been mostly disappointed with the bacon burger offerings as a whole from BK. Upon opening this sandwich, I quickly realized this was not a burger for the weak. It was enormous. On top of its size, this burger made me appreciate the amount of cheese featured. It reminded me of the BK Double Cheeseburger, but much larger and with pieces of bacon throughout.
All right, we're gonna take you for the tour. First floor, bun. Second floor, 2 patties. Third floor, penthouse, 6 strips of bacon, sesame seed root.
At first bite, I was immediately floored by how good the sandwich was, and I quickly decided that this would be among my favorites. The cheesiness of the burger melted perfectly with the bacon. And what's best is that there were no harsh toppings, like raw onions getting in the way of the flavor. And there was no mustard on this bad boy, but I quite liked the way this burger tasted without it. Overall, the Bacon King turned out to be a delectable pick. I'd order it again in a heartbeat, but I'd also need to be really hungry to get it all down. The Whopper taking the top spot probably isn't what you'd expect given all the tantalizing burger options available from Burger King. But after careful assessment, the original Whopper is, in my humble opinion, the best burger on the menu.
You see, Eddie, it takes two hands to handle a Whopper.
The smokiness of the beef patty is perfectly paired with just the right ratio of toppings, while the yumminess of the mayonnaise and ketchup dripping from the burger with each satisfying bite is enough for me to hail this as my all-time BK favorite. Are there other contenders on the Burger King menu? Sure. The Bacon King came in as a close second, but for me, it doesn't hold a candle to the classic flavors of the original Whopper. Call me super basic, but when it comes to scoring a good burger at Burger King, the Whopper still reigns supreme.